What's going on, guys? It's Bryce again. Welcome to another episode of the Expedition to Try podcast, where I have no idea what I'm doing with my life, and I'm assuming a lot of you don't either. So we're going to try and figure it out together. If you're new to this podcast, it's my goal to introduce you to young artists, musicians, entrepreneurs, and just overall creative, passionate people who deserve way more fans than they currently have. So on today's episode, very excited to introduce you to Holden Miller, a musician living out in LA. So, Holden, do you want to do a quick introduction to how old you are, who you are, if you went to college, all that kind of stuff?
Sure. Hello, everybody. My name's Holden. Bryce, thank you for having me. I'm excited to get into it. I'm 23 years old. I'm from Long Island, New York originally. I moved out to LA about, I guess, 11 months now. 11 months ago now, which is crazy. But I love being here, and it's definitely very different from life on the East Coast where I grew up. I went to school, a small school in Pennsylvania called Bucknell University, and I feel like these last 11 months have been a fresh start in my life as a musician. So um, I'm ready to talk about it.
Yeah, we're definitely gonna jump into the crazy move you made from Long Island all the way to LA because that's a pretty big jump. So, what did you study at Bucknell?
So I went into Bucknell as a business major. The major is actually called Managing for Sustainability, but I just make it easy and say business because I don't feel like explaining that. Um, and then, I was into music in high school, obviously, and starting to write a little bit more and perform a little bit more. But going into college, I didn't think it was necessarily something I wanted to study or pursue full time. So I went in as a business major, and then halfway through realized that the business major wasn't super demanding, that my family was spending a lot of money on school, and that I should be utilizing the resources that they have there. So I added a music major um, at the end of my sophomore year. So it started my junior year. And that was just a way to get access to the studio there and start recording the stuff that I'd been writing and releasing it and, launching my career as Holden Miller, the artist. So I ended up graduating with a double major in contemporary composition and managing for sustainability.
Very cool. So, how did you end up choosing to go into business? When did you make that decision? Was it in high school? And like, how did you choose business?
Um, well, I think like it seems the theme of this podcast and everyone involved in it, I had no idea what I wanted to do. I think I knew even in high school that I didn't want to be sitting at a desk 9 to 5. Like it never seemed appealing to me. Um, and so I think it was something so stupid as to I did like a presentation in my AP language and composition class my junior year on a book I read, and I enjoyed putting the presentation together, and I enjoyed like presenting it to the class, and I had fun with it. And my mom was like, "Oh, well, if you like doing stuff like this, maybe you would like getting as a business." And so I also I care about the environment. I care about like uh, social responsibility for businesses and stuff like that. And so this idea of a major that mixed business with like being socially responsible felt like it'd be a cool thing to do, and that's pretty much how I got into it.
And when you did add music to your as a second major, how did your parents feel about that? I think you said in the other podcast that your mom's an author, your dad's a lawyer. Is that right?
Yeah.
So, how did they feel about you adding that? What was their response to that?
I think they loved it because part of the reason that I added the music major, like I said, I wasn't doing a lot with my time. The I don't think the major that I was doing was fully fleshed out at the time. But like I think it was a newer major at the school, and so the program it wasn't as geared to like rigorous academics. And so my roommate was an engineer, and he was getting slammed by work 24/7, and he's like grinding away on this engineering homework, and I'm sitting there playing Xbox, and I was like, this is not right. This isn't what I should be doing with all my like free time at college. And so I think like when I explained that to them, they were pretty happy that I wanted to like go the extra length to find more things to like be responsible with at school.
And what was your first kind of memory of music? How did your idea of just like pursuing music come into play? Do you remember like a moment, or was it just kind of gradual?
Um, I think for the most part it was gradual. I think when you start playing, so I started playing guitar in 10th grade of high school. And my brother is an awesome musician. He's older, and he's the person that I credit for inspiring me to like pick up a guitar in the first place and get really into it. And I grew up playing piano and a little bit of guitar here and there, but pretty much gave that all up and focused on sports for a while and thought that was the most important thing in the world. And then when I finally got back to music, I realized how powerful it was and how much I enjoyed translating my emotions into notes on my phone, which were songs, you know. And so I think as I started writing more and more, like spending less time doing covers on my guitar and like spending that time I'm sitting down, like trying to come up with chord progressions and melodies and lyrics, that I realized how much I liked it. And I think it got to a point where I would play these songs for like family members and friends, and they I don't know if they were just gassing me up, blowing smoke, or if they actually thought they were good. But I think there was like a little bit of confidence instilled in me that the stuff I was writing sounded like real songs. Because I think that's the first thing that happens, like as a songwriter, is you're like, does this sound anything like what a song is supposed to sound like? And so once like, yeah, it's like my mom telling me it or whoever telling me it. But once they started saying like, this is good, Holden, like this, I'm not just telling you this sounds like a song. I think that was enough for me to be like, okay, maybe this is realistic. And I think I said this on the other podcast too, but I would be like sitting in my dorm. I remember both freshman year and sophomore year sitting in my dorm, and I would be playing covers here, like random covers here and there, and then I would just slip in an original song. And then like after I'd maybe like look up and see if my roommate, was noticed, and a lot of the times they'd be like, "What song was that? Like I really like that." And I'm like, "Oh, it's something I wrote." And so it's kind of like getting that reassurance that there's something beyond like me thinking I have any idea what I'm doing writing songs on my guitar that made me feel like it was realistic. And then like performing, I was in a cover band at school, and we were performing a lot. And once we started doing that more and more, like really enjoying the feeling of being on stage and playing to people and just like doing that live music thing, I think the live enjoying the live music with in combination with enjoying the whole like writing process stuff just made me feel like it was something I really wanted to do, and it was something that, again, you never know if it's feasible, but it's like more than just totally a pipe dream.
Mhm. And have you always fallen, would you say, in the same genre of music, or has it grown a lot since you first started writing your own songs?
Yeah, it is definitely grown. I think when I started, it was super. uh, I guess singer. I always describe myself as like a singer songwriter. Um, that like very acoustic lyric based music, where to me like the most important thing was like what I was saying and trying to be super poetic and it being like delicate and stripped down. And if you look at the first song I released, or even the first two songs I released, you can get that feel. And I love that music, and it'll always be, I think, the thing that comes naturally to me, like most naturally to me when I pick up my guitar. Like I feel like I can write those singer songwriter songs all the time. But after being in it for a little while, and like releasing that type of music, I think I realized that, yeah, there's definitely a market for this, but there are ways to make it more accessible or commercial, I guess. And then I think lately, since being here in LA and being exposed to so many other singer songwriters who are doing different genres of music, I've tried to branch out a little bit. And it's been pretty natural for me. Like, I don't really think I sit down and I'm like, I'm going to write a pop song today, or I'm going to write this type of song. It's just like, I'll be listening to that kind of music, and then it'll inspire me to like think in a different way. And then it
Mhm.
just comes out differently, I guess.
And who are some of your inspirations in the music world, and how have those bands or people changed throughout your musical career?
Sure. So I grew up, my dad raised me on all the music he grew up on, so
Yeah.
60s and 70s stuff. And so I think that was like my big early exposure to my love of music, and I think those songs will always subconsciously have an impact on me. Um but I didn't really get into like what was hip until later, like being like later in high school and in college when I was like starting to develop my own music taste. And so for a while it was like Jack Johnson, John Mayer, this guy named Jason Isbell, the Avett Brothers, those kind of like folky singer songwriter type people, that like that was what I was striving to be. Like I just wanted to be the guy with the guitar who like had pretty lyrics, and then an okay enough voice. And then lately it's been, I just like binge artists. I get hooked on artists and I can't stop listening to them, and then I just want to make music like them for a little bit. And not to say like I'm just like trying to copy them, like I think I still have my own voice in it, but lately it's been these big indie artists like Alexander 23 and Jeremy Zucker and Adam Melcher, who I think do such a good job of keeping that kind of genuine singer songwriter feel, but producing the songs in a way that's interesting and modern. I think that is kind of like the lane I've been trying to enter lately.
How how do you feel about uh, when you moved out of your hometown and went to school, and then especially now that you're living in LA? How's it feel to be around just more like-minded individuals? Because I know college is a super important period of time for pretty much anyone could learn from college. I would say the social aspects, especially, just because it's the first time you're out of your house and you're away from your family and you can meet new people, hear new ideas, and just like kind of figure yourself out. So, how did you feel moving out of your home and going to college, and then especially now in LA, being around all the musicians and stuff?
Yeah, I think I was ready for college when it came around, and I think now looking back, I mean, it's been so long since that moment, like end of senior year summer, when you're just like, holy shit, I'm moving away. Like
Yeah.
this is going to be a huge change. Um, but I think I was like excited and anxious, but I also knew it wasn't super far. Like it was only a 4 hour drive at most to get from where I was in Long Island to Lewisburg, Pennsylvania, and I think that just it never felt like I was too far away that I couldn't just like get home if I needed to.
Mhm.
And I think the transition in the beginning was like, I think I had some amazing times and also some really tough times. I was dating a girl from high school at that point. And I think it was hard like moving, like we trying to maintain that relationship while we were at college. I know that had like a big impact on me my freshman year, like trying to just like be happy where I was and also like feel like I still had that like old piece of me attached to me. Um and so that transition was like, it was interesting, but I think after a little while I was like, I was happy there and I had a good group of friends, and I think I was just excited about being on a campus and like again starting this what is kind of like a new life. Um, so I guess that explains like the college stuff.
Mhm.
Do you want me to go into like the LA stuff too, or should I touch more on the on like the college
Yeah, sure. We can
feeling?
go into the LA because I feel like it's more specifically you're being around people who are doing something similar to you. I don't
Oh
know
right,
for
yeah,
sure,
yeah, yeah.
but yeah.
No, no, that
How
that
does
was
that feel?
that was the other part of the question, and that is that is like the number one thing with all these moves is that Long Island is not a creative hub,
Mhm.
and I love my friends from Long Island, but they're like not. I think we talk about people that are like that want to do creative things, but it's just like not in the cards or it doesn't seem realistic. And I think a lot of people from Long Island are like that. And so it's hard because it's hard to be the one person who's doing that who doesn't have that sense of security of like getting a normal job and living a normal life. And I think it is the same exact way in Bucknell. Like the demographic on Long Island and at Bucknell are so paralleled. And it was weird at school, and I think people respected what I was doing, but I don't think they understood it because like they couldn't put themselves in those shoes, and it was like I'm going in as a finance major, and I'm gonna get a job on at whatever J.P. Morgan or Goldman Sachs when I graduate, and that is my life. And obviously, there's nothing wrong with that. But it's hard when you're the person that's like, I'm not getting a job when I graduate. I'm gonna go pursue music and have zero income and stuff like that. And so it's like it's just hard. It's like it feels like more of a risk when you're not around those type of people, or the same type of people as you. And so that is why I'm in LA, is because I graduated Bucknell and I went home and I didn't have a job and it was the pandemic and I'm sitting at home and like my friends are all trying to find 9 to 5 jobs or have them already, and I'm just like I felt so stuck. I didn't know who was going to help push me
Hmm.
in that creative direction. And then I met Bryce, who's my roommate, and he was like, I'm moving out to LA with these two other guys, and we're just gonna make music and be that next wave of of indie folk artists or whatever it was, whatever he described it was. And I didn't care if it was Nashville or New York City or whatever, wherever it was. I just wanted to be living with other people thinking the same way, and it has literally changed my life. I like, not to sound dramatic, but it has been a complete 180, because I was like close to not giving up, but like getting the 9 to 5 job. I was in the final round of an interview for a company, and if I had done that, who knows what if, like, I don't know if the music goes on the back burner and I just don't have enough time or energy to spend on music anymore. And I'm like living in New York City right now, working that 9 to 5, and I always think, well, what could have been with the music stuff? And I'm like so glad that that didn't happen. I'm now here with these music guys, and everything we talk about we understand and we relate to, and we struggle the same way, and we celebrate in the same way. um so yeah, it's been honestly amazing.
Yeah. Uh, so, how would you say your thought process has changed in terms of like comparing yourself to other people? Like when you were fresh out of college, I know personally I had a lot of trouble seeing people my age, especially people that I graduated with from high school, like getting these high paying jobs. Even I don't, it still baffles me getting married and like having kids already. Uh, it was hard for me to like see that and then look at myself and be like, I don't even know what the hell I'm supposed to be doing. So, how did you feel around then, and how has your thought process changed on comparing yourself to others now?
I think luckily, although like people have a hard time relating, I think for the most part, all the people out that I surrounded myself with at home and at Bucknell were supportive and are supportive, and that helps so much to be like, hey, I'm going to get my 9 to 5 job on Wall Street, but like, you do your music thing, that's awesome. Like, I remember when I moved out to LA, and like people were texting me like telling me how jealous they were and like wishing they could do that. And I'm like, you can do that, but like, I'm sure you enjoy the getting your paycheck every 2 weeks, and
Yeah.
I'm not getting that, and there's like that sense of security missing. So I think having that support made it a lot easier. But there is, I think, just like an internal struggle of like going back from LA to New York, and being home, and my friends are all working, and I'm like, it's like it's a different world for me to experience that. And I think there is like some like eh, sense of it, it feels like such a bad word to say, but like embarrassment of being like, I've been out in LA for this long and I haven't, and I know you can't see the progress I'm making. I swear, like I'm working, I'm trying to get these songs finished. I'm trying to grow my audience, but like this shit takes time,
Yeah.
and it's almost like sometimes it is like I I I I think I get in my own head about how other people perceive me that are close to me, and it's not necessarily the case. But I think like, oh, they probably think I'm just like slacking off out here, not doing anything. And it's been really nice because I've had a little bit of success lately, and I've seen it translate to people like I think just taking me a little bit more seriously, being like, oh shit, like this is starting to work now. Like maybe he's not crazy. Um, so yeah, I think that's how it's been lately.
And what are you doing to cover your like base uh, financial needs? Are you, because I know Bryce said he just does a bunch of odd jobs in construction or whatever it might be, Uber. So what are you doing to like pay for rent, pay for groceries, all that stuff?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I drive Uber Eats. It's pretty lucrative in LA. I did it during the pandemic on Long Island, so I'm used to it. I know my routine by now. Um, it took me a while to get into it. Definitely there was a period where it's just depleting savings a lot. And my parents are supportive of me, and they want me to be. I think they believe in me as an artist, which is really cool, and I'm extremely lucky to have that, because I think that is like when we get to talking about people who don't pursue their passion, I think that has a lot to do with it. And I feel extremely lucky to be in a position where I think not only do my parents support like pretty much anything I do, but they also genuinely believe in the music I'm making. And so they're always happy to like try and support financially. And like if I need help like getting something mastered or whatever, it's like if you don't have the money for it, like we want you to succeed in this fashion. So that's really nice. Um, but yeah, Uber Eats and depleting savings and I don't know. I feel like I need to figure it out a little bit better moving forward. But I don't have a lot of money, and it's definitely like also part of that sacrifice. It's like I really enjoy what I'm doing, but I'm not gonna like I can't just go out and like ball out on a night out on the town and like buy a bunch of drinks or like go get some cool new clothes that I want, because it's just like that's not what I need to be focusing on right now.
Hmm. And since you brought up the sacrifices, can you just touch on any that you can think of that you just stuff you have had to give up? Like, the joke is, are you only eating ramen for every meal of the day? Do you live in a shitty apartment? Like, what kind of sacrifices did you have to make in order to pursue your passion of music?
Yeah, I don't feel like it's a ton, and again, I feel really lucky to be in just a mental position that I
Mhm.
don't feel like it's a ton, because I think I've had my sights set on not necessarily this exact path, but like I said in high school, I already kind of knew I didn't want to work the 9 to 5, so I think I, at a young age, sort of understood that it's not easy to just do that. It's not just like you decide I'm not doing the 9 to 5 and then boom, you're living life and it's awesome. Obviously, like there's a reason most people do work that 9 to 5. But I think having that just mental preparation for it from an early age and knowing that, also like being someone who never was like super, like I didn't care about having a lot of money, and I like always like valued experiences and like just doing what I loved over that shit. Like I think there are people that just don't want to be in the position where they can't treat themselves to what they want to buy. And so I don't feel like it has been a ton. I think like coming to LA, there's been like the sacrifices of like leaving my family.
Mhm.
Especially like I felt guilty during doing that during the pandemic and feeling like I was a part of like this household that was helping push each other to just survive during such hard times. And I think, and leaving my friends too, like that was terrifying to me, because I'm super close to my friends from home, and for me to be like, yeah, I'm just gonna go 3,000 miles away and only see you a couple times here and there for like who knows how long was definitely scary. So I think it's like more of those sacrifices than it is like feels like very tangible things.
Mhm.
But I think also like just I think the biggest thing is like just sacrificing your sense of security in life. Like I did graduate from Bucknell and I had a degree that their alumni network is amazing and they want you to get a job out of college, and if I had focused on that, like I have confidence that I could have gotten a fine job, um, pretty much at any point after or like during senior year or after I graduated. Um, and so I think that is the biggest thing is like if you're gonna do this shit, like not only are you gonna have a lack of like financial security, but you're gonna have a lack of just mental security, being like I have no idea what the fuck my life is gonna be like in the next month, in the next year, and then as long as I'm pursuing this and I'm not living off of it, it's like I don't know. I have no idea what the future holds.
And so what would you say your like typical daily routine looks like as it surrounds your music while also balancing uh somehow making money however possible?
Yeah, yeah. I don't have a good routine, and I don't know if that's beneficial or detrimental to me. But I just think with music, and this is the other thing that's like so scary about music is there's not one thing that you do. It's not like I just wake up, I record, I produce, and I release a song, and like that's it. There's like with social media, it's like you could spend months just trying to grow your TikTok following or
Mhm.
just trying to grow your Instagram following, and there's never a point where you chalk up your hands and you say, I did what I need to do. It's like, oh, I did a lot today, but there's 1,000 other things I could be doing. I could be working harder. I could be making more music. I could be getting better at guitar. I could be getting better at piano. I could be writing more. I could be getting more TikTok followers. I could be learning how to brand new. Like it's literally endless. And I think um, that makes it hard to be in a routine because there's just a million different things being thrown around your head and like in terms of what should I be doing, and it has to do with like are you are you at a time where you're releasing music and need to be spending energy promoting that, or are you in like a lull where you're just working on the actual music and trying to get it ready for release? So there's just am I doing a podcast today, like it's stuff like that it's hard for you to be like I'm gonna do this every day. And so I'd say I try and dedicate as from the time I wake up to dinner time, I try and dedicate to just like doing whatever I put on a to-do list. I have a whiteboard hanging on my door, and it's like I try and get that shit done, and then make dinner and hopefully drive Uber. I'm not the most consistent with it. I should be more consistent, but I do that, and then I get back, and if like I still have energy, then do a couple more musical or business type things, and then unwind and go to bed, and like that's a routine. I think
Eh,
for the most part.
what what are some of your short-term and long-term goals for your life and your music in general?
Um, so I had made a Google Doc in June, just writing down some goals. I don't know why I did it. I don't know if like my therapist was like, "Hey, you should probably like put some of these down," or if one day I was like, "I need to write this out and just see if I can achieve it."
Yeah.
And so I had, and this is actually pretty cool, and it's hard to latch onto these things because a lot of times when you're doing stuff like this, like even these small like even big victories that aren't big in the scheme of things, like don't feel like enough. So I think it's nice that I put down some goals, and I had like get to 10,000 monthly listeners on Spotify by September, and I was at like I think I was like under 1,000 at the time. Get 1,000 followers on TikTok, book and play a show in LA, and then like have an album of songs done by the end of your first year in LA. And I looked back at that like very recently because I just had this little burst of success, um, and I'm at like almost 15,000 monthly listeners, and I'm at 10,000 TikTok followers, and I played a show in LA, or played a couple shows in LA. And then like I still definitely need to finish up more songs, but it was like really cool to like look at those goals, and I think I haven't like wrapped my mind around what my next like list of short term goals are. Um, but I think it's like I thank you for asking this question because I should probably go like back that Google Doc and like check those things off and then like make the next list because I think it's really helpful to have those things. But I think like short term goals is just like continuing to um, like grow, like keep a positive trend of monthly listeners. I would love to get an Spotify editorial playlist. That's definitely a goal of mine. Um, and I think I just want to prepare a bunch of music for 2022 and work on branding and like figure out a more consistent theme for the way I present myself. Um, so those are like the short term things, and then my long term thing has always just been I want to be able to survive off of the art I make.
Awesome. And what kind of advice would you give to younger you, even though you're so young right now? You can go back as far as you want, and if you want to just like place where you were at the time, what would you tell yourself?
Easy, easiest question of the day. Um, because I think about this all the time. And when I released my first single, I was a junior in college. It was 2018. Um, and at that time in my life, like all I thought was you just make music and you put it out there and then boom, people listen and that's it. And that's all you have to think about. Um, and if I could go back, I would say, hey, let's sit on this for a little bit. There's no rush to get anything out. You're like, I don't know, 20 years old, whatever I was at the time. And I wish that I had planned out like my launch as an artist way better. I wish I had like figured out how I want to roll out singles, like prepared a bunch of music in advance, prepared a way to brand myself, thought about my artist name more. All those things. I just wish that I could like I wish I had a fresh start after I figured out all the like industry side stuff,
Hmm.
which don't think I really started to fully grasp onto until about a year ago.
Yeah, I don't have to deal with any of that kind of stuff because I'm not in music, but there's just so much stuff, like you said earlier, just so much you have to do and so much you have to learn. And I don't think you really ever realize that when you first start. So, how do you keep yourself motivated to keep doing all this stuff? And even though it seems so overwhelming how much you could be doing, but maybe aren't, how do you keep yourself motivated each and every day, especially if you're not yet able to support yourself by doing all those things each and every day?
Yeah. It's hard. It's really hard. And right before I released the thought, 2 weeks ago, I guess it was like 3 weeks ago, I really was having a hard time getting myself to work on music, and it's hard, especially when you spend a lot of time and effort like on the music side of things and on the promotional side of things and creating content, and everything gets lost. Feels like gets lost to the abyss, and you're like, why am I doing this if it's not getting in front of people? And it's hard, and I think you just the more people you talk to, they like kind of just reaffirm the fact that this shit takes time, and
Mhm.
if you're consistent with it, it will pay off. And I think you kind of just have to hold that hope. And I think it helps being 23 and not 28. I think if like I'm where I'm at in 5 years, then it's like the alarms are going off and I'm like, I'm fucked. um but I think it helps feeling like I still feel like I wish I was 20. I wish I was where I am right now when I was 20, but obviously like I can't go back, and I am still young, and I think that helps to like feel motivated. Like I don't have a ton of pressure. Like I can take a whole nother year of this and keep getting better, and that's okay. And so I think that definitely helps with the motivation, but I also just trying to latch on to like the little victories, the every couple days when someone reaches out and says like your music means so much to me, and it's like if there's one person that says this, then why can't there be 100? And if there are 100 people, why can't there be 1,000? And trying to latch on to those little things is definitely helpful too.
So, what kind of habits have you formed around posting on social media? I know you mentioned in the other podcasts that you try not to go on social media too much, but it seems like you know that it's one of the best ways to grow your following. So, what kind of habits have you formed around posting your music on Instagram, TikTok, and wherever else?
Yeah, I think TikTok is the number one priority, I think, for any musician right now, and it hurts to say it, and I wish it wasn't that way, but it is really important, and there's no other platform that you can just randomly reach hundreds of thousands of people, and it's easy for me to say right now because I just had success there, and it's like if we're having the same conversation and that didn't blow up, and I'm still at this point where I'm getting 200 views on every single video I post and 3 likes, it's like I probably could be saying "fuck this platform, I hate it." Um, but I think that is the priority right now. I've tried to narrow down the like social media importance and like the priorities of what I need as a musician. And to me, it's like come down to like try and get Spotify's attention because they have a lot of power. Um, that comes from I think things like TikTok success. So it's like TikTok and Spotify attention have been the things, and I think just trying to post on TikTok once a day is is what I've been doing and trying to keep stuff somewhat interesting. Like you can be so bland on TikTok, especially because you can post literally over and over again. It's not like it doesn't feel like Instagram where you post once. Like if you post a full post, you're like, all right, I need to take a little break from this. It's like you could literally fire up every half an hour being like, listen to my music. And so that works, but it's just not, it doesn't feel right to me. So I try and like keep things as entertaining as possible. But then again, like then I end up spending way more time making a TikTok than I probably need to.
And when you do post a TikTok and say it doesn't do well after putting in a decent amount of time, how do you mentally deal with that? Are you super hard on yourself, or are you just kind of like, oh well, on to the next one?
Yeah, I think you gotta just like blame the algorithm and not and try and not make it seem like it's your fault. And then you just like you get one random person being like, "How is this not blown up yet?" You're like, Thank you.
Yeah.
And that's kind of enough, I think, to be like, okay, like this is the algorithm and not the content I'm putting out. So yeah, it's stuff like that. I try not to be too hard on myself. It's like everyone struggles with it, and I think like this comes back to like living with three other musicians. It's like they're doing the same thing, and they're in the abyss too, and they're spending time and effort making TikToks, and nobody's seeing them. And it's like, okay, I'm not just sitting here and everyone else is blown up. It's like we're all in this together. And
Yeah.
every musician you meet out here, like it's gonna come up. The TikTok conversation is gonna come up, and if they don't have a big following, they know what it's like too. So. I think just being like surrounded by people who are also struggling, it's like, all right, I just gotta be persistent with this and know it's not my fault.
I don't know if it's true or not, but I think the new TikTok algorithm is you post a video and it is shown to all your current followers, and depending on how they respond to it, then they'll show it to people who don't follow you.
Really?
So I think it's way worse than it was before, where they just show it to any random group of people. So I don't know if that'll help you
No,
more
it is
target to your
helpful.
followers.
No, that actually is really helpful, and I'm lucky because that one TikTok got me a ton of followers.
Yeah.
And so now I'm at a point where I feel like the stuff I put out there, yes, it's not blowing up, but it's like consistently getting over 1,000 views, and so that's nice to know because now I feel like I can cater it to the people that liked what they like, what brought them to me in the first place. It's like if I can keep rolling with that, then there's no reason that another one won't go like that. That
Mhm.
that is really helpful, and it's just nice to have that little bit of a boost because then you feel like it just gives you that much more confidence that
Yeah.
something is gonna like take off.
What I wanted to bring this story up because it was pretty funny, but could you share the story about the writing of Heat Lamp with Bryce?
Oh sure, yeah. Well, do you want the whole Chili's thing with it?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
It's so funny. So I don't. Bryce and I did not have an intention to write a song, but we went to Chili's because we were with our friend Julian was visiting us, and Julian and Bryce are huge Chili's fans. And they were like, you need to experience the magic of Chili's. So we went to Chili's, and we got dinner, and it was a good time. Um, and we came back, and then Bryce was just like playing, just sitting at the piano, just playing this riff, and it caught my ear, and I was like, "Did you make this up?" And he's like, "Yeah, I did." And I thought it was gonna be like a Dawes type, like it felt like a Dawes more folky riff, and I was like singing some melody over it, and then I was like, "Dude, let's just go upstairs and do this right now." And I think there's been a couple instances since being here where, like with other roommates too, where if you're just kind of like I can't come up with the word, but if you just like jump into it and you're like, I'm not gonna like just sit here and be like, oh, we should do it. Like, let's just do
Just
it right
go.
now
Yeah.
and record it and have something down, and then like the magic just happens. So that's kind of what happened. We raced up the stairs. Bryce recorded the riff, and then like the way he recorded it digitally just didn't sound folky anymore. Like it sounded more bedroom poppy.
Mhm.
Um, and then from I don't know, 7 p.m. to 4 a.m. We were in his room. Just, I remember Julian was helping us. Julian was helping us, like during the session. She like helped with some words in the chorus and stuff. And there was like a point where I looked back and she was just like curled up asleep on Bryce's bed, and I'm like, "We gotta keep going, we gotta keep going." And then she woke up and she was like in it again, and then like back asleep, and it was just like this time lapse of working on music. Um, but it was cool. It really did feel like a magical moment. Like everything was just flowing out. The music was flowing out. The lyrics, the melodies, and it was cool because I had this little piece in my notes that I had written down when I was trying to fall asleep, and it wasn't in like poetic form. It was very stream of consciousness, just saying, um, every night. I think I said every night I dream stuff up, and then in the morning I get none of that done, and then so every evening hangs above me like a heat lamp. I don't know why I thought heat lamp. I think my brother had a bearded dragon when we were home, and I think it's a bearded dragon, some sort of lizard, and it had a heat lamp, and I just had that image in my head of like being in this like tank with with heat like pushing down on you, and this feeling of like I have so much that I want to do, and then it's so easy to think when you're laying in bed at night that you're gonna like save the world the next day, and then it's the next day and you don't get anything done, and then it's like this rigorous cycle. And so it was cool to be able to turn that like stream of consciousness thing in my notes into what heat lamp is today. And I feel like the music fits the lyrical message well, and I think Bryce and I were both feeling that sense of like of a lack of security and a lack of consistent motivation and
Hmm.
persistence. So it was cool to like relate on that and also write about something a little different than what we usually talk about.
Hmm. And I feel like hearing that story, especially the part where you're just like, you have the idea and you're just able to act on it immediately, that's something that I feel as though a lot of creative people wish they had. So, what kind of advice would you give to someone who desires to live a life similar to what you and Bryce and Cam are living, and just being able to work on what they're truly passionate, because it's not easy to just give up this normal routine of the 9 to 5 job. What kind of advice would you give to anyone who would like to possibly get started in a life like that?
Sure. I think a lot of it starts with the passion of it, and I don't want to sit here and say that like I'm overly obsessed with music, because there are other things I really enjoy in life that I like spending my time doing.
Hmm.
Um, but I think there's something that just naturally has drawn myself and my other roommates to music, and it's like you can't really get away from it. So I think like before giving someone advice to be like, hey, you should do this, it's like you got to take a second and be like, is do I enjoy this thing enough to the point where I want to dedicate my life to it? And I think that's hard, and I don't think that's always the case, and I don't think you should necessarily be doing it unless you're really good at it and it's just something that comes naturally, and it's like I don't have to work that hard for it. Fine, but if it's not something that is like calling you, I feel like there's just like an innate calling that people have, and if you don't have that, I think it's hard to get yourself to pursue it. But I think if you do have that and you're just like I just don't want to lose that sense of security, um, I think just kind of like zooming out and being philosophical about it, and like knowing you only get one life and that there will be a job waiting for you at some point. Like if you worked hard enough to get that job in the first place, I think you can work hard enough in a year or two or three or however long you want to give yourself to do this creative pursuit, that you'll be able to get that again. And it'll be waiting there for you, and you can't really do it in the reverse. You don't want to spend the first 10 years of your adult life working that 9 to 5 and then realize at age 30 that you want to do music, because you don't get that time back.
Hmm.
And so, again, I think it's very circumstantial, and I think a lot of like it. There are people. I think everyone in my house is super lucky to like have grown up where they grew up and have a family and friends that support them. But I think just doing it. I think like just kind of being like, I I am not gonna get this opportunity again, and really, there's nothing to lose. And I think these days a lot more people are doing it, and I think people are more understanding of it, and
Hmm.
people are a little less like into like everyone needs a 9 to 5 job. I think people are starting to be like, hey, like this is your life, and happiness is the most important thing, and like you should give yourself a shot at anything you want to do. And I think that's nice. And I think like even things that like again, like I don't know how healthy TikTok and Instagram are, but I think there are like people on TikTok that if you scroll through would be saying the same things, who are like motivating you. But I think in terms of just like the actual music thing, like just doing it, like I think that is the hardest part, is like jumping in.
Mm-hmm.
And I still struggle with it. Like I struggle like opening up Logic and like recording and producing a song. But every time I do it, for the most part, like something good comes out of it. And so I think that is like and everyone told me that too. And I think this is important because everyone told me like just do it, dude. Like I was so scared to produce. I was confident in my songwriting skills, but I was so scared to like jump in and produce and like try and do that myself. And I didn't believe in myself. And everyone's like, dude, just try. Like you have nothing to lose. And I'm rambling now, but that's a scary thing too, is like expecting that every time you go to try and do something creative, that you need to have like a tangible thing to hold after it, or even something like that maybe isn't as tangible, but like every time I sit down and I write a song, or every time I sit down and produce, like this needs to be, I need a product that I can release. And I think that is so dangerous, because a lot of times you don't get that, and you can learn so much from like an experience, like just putting together like a silly like grouping of instruments in whatever you use to record, and you're going to learn tips and techniques, even if it's like subconscious, of when it's actually for something that you're going to release, and not being so hard on yourself if you don't come up with a product. So I think like just literally just get forcing yourself to do it, and once you're in it, it's never as scary as you think it is.
Yeah.
That was a lot, I'm sorry.
Oh no, that was perfect. I heard on another podcast, I listened to the Tim Ferriss show like every day, and one of his guests said, in response to talking about writer's block and just creating in general, he said, all you have to do is write 2 crappy pages a day. They don't have to be good. You just have to write consistently every day. You don't always have to come out with something amazing, or it doesn't have to be the final product. You just have to keep doing something every single day, and eventually something good will come of it.
Sure,
So
yeah.
I kind of work on just doing that, especially now that I have more time. I'm trying to paint at least one small thing every day. I try to work on the podcast, blog, YouTube channel every day, just a little bit. And even if it's not growing to the capacity that I want yet, I know consistency will win in the end, as you said a little earlier.
Sure, but that's hard. Like that is what you should be doing,
Yeah.
and that's what I should be doing, and everyone else. But it is hard, and I think it's important to know that if you miss a day, or you miss a week, or you even miss a month because you can't handle it at the time, that's okay too. It's like, and that's something I struggle with a lot. Is like cutting myself slack in terms of productivity and like musical output, and like sometimes there's weeks where you're just not feeling it. Like sometimes there's weeks when I have a TikTok idea every day, and sometimes there's weeks where I'm like, I cannot think of anything that is going to be good.
Yeah.
And just being easy on yourself and saying, okay, I didn't paint today, but that's okay. And if I don't paint tomorrow, that's okay too. But
Yeah.
like if you're passionate about it, it's gonna come back to you at some point.
Right.
And I think that's like that again is like for people who are pursuing it. I think once you get into a little bit of a rut, it's like, oh, this isn't right for me. But I think that is so important. It's like it's so much of a mental battle with the actual like physical talent.
Yeah. So we're coming close to an hour. So I want to talk about the most recent song, The Thought. What's the story behind The Thought, and specifically, why a tomato? That's what I want to know.
I should have seen that one coming. Yeah, so this like ties in perfectly to me being obsessed with an artist and then wanting to make music in that style. And my roommate Colin, he's the one that his artist name is Comfort Club. He had shown me Alexander 23, and he showed me his music videos, and I was like enthralled by them. I just everything about it, the artistry behind it, and the lyricism and the production, it just stood out. I was like, I didn't know you could be so. I don't want to. I keep saying simple when I describe this, but I don't want to like take away from his ability to like be poetic because he's an amazing lyricist. But there's something about like his lyrics being on the nose, but not in like a cheesy or cliche way. And
Mhm.
I think for a lot of times when I was writing, I was like trying to like go like work around everything that might be too upfront, and like trying to use like metaphors for stuff or just like unique words. And sometimes if you have a unique way of saying something, it doesn't matter if you're using very common words. And so I kind of just sat down, and I don't think the tomato line came first. I think the first line of the song came first. I sat down. Alexander 23 has a song called Dirty Air Force Ones where there's like this repeating note that plays over and over again. So I was like, grab my guitar and I was like, I'm just going to play this G note over and over again and see if I could write over it. And so I did that, and I don't know. I must have just been feeling it that day, and like words were pouring out. And then I think I was like trying to go. I was like, how can I be like super specific about something, but it doesn't have to be poetic? And it's like, hey, did you know I eat tomatoes now? And then like, because I just wanted to like talk. I don't know why I wanted to talk about that, but it had been a time when I was like just trying to like eat every food I could possibly eat. Um, and so the tomato line came, and then I was like, oh, I can make this a little bit poignant, and I'm gonna say, like something so simple as tomatoes can make me feel like I've grown since I'm talking about like an old relationship in the
Mhm.
song. And so yeah, that's how it happened, and I did not know if it was good when I wrote it. Like I was like, is this like the cheesiest, silliest thing ever, or is this genius? Um, and then I sent it to my mom, and she was like, the tomato line stood out to her, and then like other people too, like it stood out, and then that ended up being the thing that like people latched onto on TikTok, which is really cool.
All right, rad. So what can the fans expect to see in the coming days, weeks, and months from Holden Miller?
The fans can expect a single very soon. I haven't announced the date yet, but very soon. I mean, I don't know when we're gonna air this,
Right.
so at that point it might be like out already.
Yeah.
But I think that's gonna be my conclusion of 2021 Holden Miller is this single. It's called Magnum Opus, um, and I have a song called New Year's that I would like to release on New Year's. I don't know if that's gonna happen. There's a lot of things I need to figure out, including like finishing the production of the song. But that's a really fun one, and I've been playing it live for a while, so I would like to get it out. There's been people like I'll play it on TikTok live, and people will like it. So I would like to put that out for those people. And then I think 2022 is going to be a new Holden Miller, and I hope to just keep like blasting out this music. And I think I'm working towards a bit of a bigger project, like a big EP,
Mhm.
because I have a lot of songs in the tube, and I would like to get them out and not have to have people wait every month to get something. And now that I have a little bit of a bigger audience, I think it'd be cool to put out a stack of songs.
Yeah.
So I think yeah, I think in the next couple months, just like be on the lookout for a bigger Holden Miller project, and maybe like the launch of a new, I don't know, direction, theme. We'll see. We'll see.
Awesome. And where can people find you on social media, and where's all your music at?
Music is everywhere: Spotify, Apple Music, YouTube, wherever you listen. Holden Miller, across all streaming platforms, and then TikTok is Holden Miller Music, and Instagram is Holden Miller with 3 R's because some bastard has Holden Miller. I'm gonna get it. I'm gonna get it from them. um, yeah, but I think TikTok, Instagram, Spotify, Apple Music, those are the most important ones. So
Awesome. And I'm gonna
that's where
put
you
you
can
on
find.
the spot now because Bryce made me think about this question. What we'll leave on a song suggestion. So any song you want the fans to listen to now, or just something you've been listening to on repeat for the past week.
Sure. Um, you know what? I'm gonna go with my dear friends Mickey Darling. They're a duo. from Texas that we met a little while back, and I just cannot get away from their music. It's so interesting. It's like they're an indie pop duo, but their lyrics are just you haven't heard someone singing about that shit the way they do. Like it's so interesting. The production is so good. It's so fun. It's so fun to sing along in the car. So Mickey Darling, check them out. It's definitely explicit content for the most part. So fair warning there. But they put out a single called Vroom Vroom where the chorus has to do with the old Vine Vroom Vroom I'm in my mom's car. It's just so funny for them to be able to like take that and turn it into an awesome song. But I love shouting out Mickey Darling. They're amazing people. They make amazing music. So go listen to them.
Awesome. And anything else you want to add before we sign off?
I just would like to say thank you to you, Brush. You're awesome, and I appreciate you having me, and I'm glad we did this.
Yeah, thank you so much for
And I would
coming
love
on.
to see some of your watercolor stuff.
Oh, absolutely. I'm on bski_art on Instagram if you're
Cool.
interested.
I'll check it out.
Yeah, so thanks so much for being on. Glad we could get a second housemate on the podcast. um, and for all you listening, all the links to what Holden talked about, all the songs, all his social media, everything will be in the description below. So go check him out, give him some love, help him start making some money to support himself from his music. That would be awesome.
Please, thank you. And thank you to everyone who listens. It means the world to me that people are tuning in and interested in this stuff. So
Yeah.
And pursue your passion.
Exactly.
It's even if it sucks, it helps you grow and it'll be rewarding. I think it's important.
Awesome. So on that note, peace out and good luck, everybody.